We're here today at Irlam Railway Station. We're going to have a look round it's a fabulous building, but I'm joined by Tony Prescott, the Operations Manager for the Hamilton Davies Trust. He's going to give us a talk about the building, what we can expect to see, and general talking about the building, shall we say. Tony, what's your role?
I'm an operations manager at Hamilton Davies Trust. I've been involved with the station since obviously it was actually refurbished back in 2015.
Right. How long was the station empty for then?
It would have been over sort of 30 odd years really that it was actually in a sort of a derelict state.
Right. Because it was on the main line, wasn't it, from Liverpool to Manchester?
Yeah, and it's still it's still a very, very busy commuter line,
yeah.
Liverpool to Manchester. But obviously with the station as it is now, obviously the footfall coming through the station now has improved vastly.
Well, it would have been the hub for the workers, for the trade in Irlam, wouldn't the steelworks for one?
That's right.
Is that right? There was a separate line to Irlam Steel from the station? Or was that an urban myth?
No, there was a single track line which ran through sort of Irlam Linear Park and fed the steelworks and also the margarine works and soap works.
Right.
But ultimately, this station house itself is actually further back than its original position back in the 1890s, because obviously for the building of the Manchester Ship Canal.
Yeah, of course.
So obviously there was a change in layout there. So I think it's probably one of the furthest away station houses in terms of its line and its coverage from Liverpool to Manchester.
So whose grand idea was it to restore it to its beautiful state that it's in now, shall we say?
Neil MacArthur, our chairman of Hamilton Davies Trust, had this idea that as part of a regeneration plan really, but had this idea in regard to the station, and they'd been working on it, Hamilton Davies Trust had been working on it probably a few years before, looking at this kind of refurbishment. The actual concept was probably around about 2013. Obviously you have to go through various planning permissions and etc. etc. And then 2015 is actually when it first opened.
I've only ever, to my shame this is, I've only ever been here twice. I've never had a proper look round. I've seen Rachel Cleary's artworks on the bridges and...
Yeah, I mean Rochelle Cleary, fantastic artist and has worked with the Trust for many years. And has been responsible for a lot of the artwork, the graphics, etc. around in this building. There's a particular, when we obviously go around and tour the station, I can show there's an actual sort of ghost wall that's been created by Rochelle, which is absolutely fantastic. And you're right, obviously the bridge artwork, not only obviously at the bridges, but also across on the Liverpool side as well. There's some artwork on there and that depicts the area from its humble beginnings right the way through to try and make it and sort of give it a modern feel.
Right, I'm looking forward to this. Are we allowed to have a wander around?
Yeah,
Are you going to take
have a
us
little wander around, yeah.
Tony's going to give us a guided tour and we will show you the highlights of it. Behind me is the Irlam Council clock dating from 1907. Could you tell us a little bit more about this, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see from the pictures on here, which again is visible for obviously anybody that wants to come down and look at, you will see that the actual clock dates back to 1907, was actually featured on the what was then Irlam Council building. The clock itself was basically in somebody's shed, and we put a call out and somebody actually brought it to us. It was in a farmer's shed, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody brought that to us, and we had a clockmaker there that actually put the rest of this together. But in terms of it sort of staying in its original state, as you'll see as we go around the other side of the clock, this being the makings and then obviously the clock face on the other side, it is the actual one that was back in 1907. Work? Yes, it does. Yeah.
You have to wind it daily.
You have to wind up the clock on this sort of thing. There's a winding mechanism on here, and then obviously that then kind of works. So it might not be working at this moment, but it does work, and it relies on somebody obviously winding it up. Yeah,
get Sue on the job.
Needs to do it, yeah.
Behind me, we've got some of these railway engine. What would you call these, Tony? Is there a word for them?
They're just, it's railway memorabilia that comes from the various railway stations, the various railway wagons, etc., etc. So the idea behind this is that the place reflects that sort of feel of a 1923. So
Yeah.
the idea of this particular amalgamation of the railways, which was back in 1923, the building, the colour set and everything kind of replicates that.
The LMS, is that?
Yes, it
London,
was, yeah.
Midlands,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when they
Norwich
came
Rail.
together in 1923, so because obviously before that there was many sort of railway companies, and they decided to look to bringing them all together. Right. So Neil MacArthur had obviously stored a lot of these up in his own belongings at home. Yeah. So obviously from his wife's point of view, it's great that he's able to bring them to Irlam Station. And to the delight of his wife to actually have them here in the station. So,
and they're out of the house.
And they're out of the house, yeah.
We've got some fabulous photos, haven't we, of the station and of Irlam and Caddy's Head behind us. So just, these are wonderful. It's a history lesson, isn't it, just wandering around here. Continuing our tour of Irlam Railway Station with Tony, who's got more sense than me. He's put a coat on. This is a statue figure by Rochelle Cleary. What does it represent?
Well, it's man on the bench. It literally is, as it says on the tin, really. It's man on the bench. So what happened with this particular piece here is that obviously it's been bronze now, but previously it was done by a student of the local high school when the student was probably in the second or third year. And this was kept in the art studio that was at the local high school. And then over a period of time, probably about 5-6 years ago, we were given the opportunity at Irlam Station to have this piece of artwork. But obviously, because of it now coming outside, we had to do various things with it in order for it
weather protected.
to be weather protected. So the statue was bronzed, and basically it is what it is. So
does it represent industry?
No. I mean, Simon Law was the guy behind this, and we were fortunate enough that we caught up with Simon, and we had him come here and sort of physically open the fact that his artwork was here. He would say that it was just an idea that he came up with, but there is talk that it actually represents a particular old teacher that was at the school. But to do this probably in his early part of his time at the high school, being the second or third year at the school, was just absolutely fantastic. And the way that it stood the test of time, and it's always been there. I mean, I went to the local high school and it stood its test of time, and it's just something that's always been around for as long as I can remember.
To me, it represents a chap who just finished a hard day's graft, a working man with a flat cap on, and he's possibly finished work at the steel works, tar works, match works, margarine work, and the poor old soul's waiting for his train home. Yeah, that's my florid interpretation.
No, and do you know what? If people come here and they want to sit and reflect as well, it can be what people see it as well, can't they?
Yeah.
So.
We've got the red phone box.
Yep.
These wonderful signs warning you not to trespass, trains crossing, Midland Railway.
And the most recent one is the Irlam Station Heritage Trail, the map. That basically takes you around the station and lets you know of all the things that you can see at this station, including obviously the signal box, which is to our right, which I'm sure we're going to have a look at.
We will do in a minute.
This actually came from Keighley Junction, and you'll see on the heritage boards a little bit of a picture of what it looked like on there, and also the work that was involved in actually getting this signal box here to Irlam. Now, it was one of my big projects that was involved in, so I know that there was a lot of work and a lot of people that were involved in actually bringing this particular piece here. And Network Rail, I must congratulate Network Rail, because ultimately they agreed to dismantle it and actually bring it here to a very, very substantial cost, which obviously they waived for us. So that's fantastic. I mean, they wanted it off their land ultimately, but they also wanted it to be protected. And obviously I had to delist it from Bradford City Council, and then obviously we brought it here in its current state. Now, the bottom floor of the signal box itself isn't the original. That was very damaged, but the top half is, and that again is exactly as it was all that time in there, with the slated roof, the sash windows. The sash windows is what depicts a Midland 2A box.
We're now in the signal box at Irlam Railway Station, and once again I'm lost for words. Tony, once again I'm asking you, what do you know?
Well,
tell us.
What we can see here in regards to the actual signal frame, the original signal frame back in Keighley in West Yorkshire was a 32 signal arm frame. What we've tried to do is replicate what was there at Keighley Station and what would have been used on the main line over there. Now, obviously, what you will see on here, you've seen the top half of the actual signals, and the idea is obviously they worked in relation to the lines and opening up of the line sort of thing. So they all had to be open in a certain formation in order for it to work. Below this is another, I mean, obviously when we go downstairs and we have a look at the ground level, you'll see the underneath of the mechanics of the rockers and stuff underneath, and it's fantastic to see.
I assume that the desk chair, they like to represent what the chap who would be in charge here, that where he'd be sitting.
Yeah, because
10, 12 hours shift.
Exactly. No, you're right there. And there was, I mean, they were on sort of 12-hour shift. Now, assuming like anything else in these kind of times, if that man wasn't, if the next person wasn't turning up, then they might be a little bit longer until somebody took over them, because you couldn't leave these unmanned at the time. So it was really important.
These are interesting, aren't they? These keys.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, these keys, these original keys, were used when one signalman would permit another train to come through his station, and it was very simple in the sense that dictated whether they could actually pass through the station. So it was a very simplistic way of working, but it worked, and obviously the next signalman would then put it into his signal box, etc., and that's how it's working there. And then we also have these signalling tokens, of which you can see a picture on there of it actually being in use and the way that worked. And it was a very, very simplistic time then. So obviously the modern technology that's taken over now, these are not needed. But back in the day, it was so simple that the way you actually move trains through from one station to the other.
I'm just amazed at everything that's in here. I keep looking around, seeing different things. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Well, one of the things that we do offer is an extensive tour of not only the station and where you've been through the memorabilia, but also including the signal box. And that's something that can actually be booked through Hamilton Davis Trust. And you can go onto their website and you can actually book a tour. And there will be a tour guides which are made up of friends of Irlam Station and Hamilton Davis, and they will take you around the station. Now, depending on the knowledge that you have, because as you can imagine, you might get ex-signalmen that want to have a look at this particular frame, then we'll provide that expertise that actually takes you through it.
Right, down to the novice.
Down to the novice who just wants to kind of tour around. But it's well worth going on.
Of course.
And it's well worth going onto the site there and having a look at where and actually booking it.
So that's Hamilton Davis?
Hamilton Davis Trust.
Just go on to that. You also told me that they do cream teas in this room.
They do, yeah. One of the things that you can have at the station and use this box is basically an afternoon tea. So again, you know, if you're looking to treat a loved one, especially being on Valentine's Day, a bit late for today, but obviously you can make up by having an afternoon tea in a signal box. And again, that could be booked through the station.
That's brilliant. Bring your wife, bring someone else's wife, bring a loved one. What a great idea, Sam.
Yeah, and it's really, and it's lovely decked out as well. So you know, you're made to feel welcome. It's all done for you. But you're sat with something of history like this. It's unbelievable.
It's good also that you're utilising the station.
Yes.
The catering thing.
Yes.
You've got a fabulous bar there. You can have meals. You know, do they have receptions there? Things like that.
Yes. We've now got a license at the station where you can actually have your wedding at the station. So there's a license there in order to do that. And I know that the station have provided weddings here before. Right. So that's something in the last year or so that the station have been doing. And again, so any sort of celebration, whether it's right from little baby christening all the way through to funerals.
Well, the grand tour of Irlam Railway Station has come to an end, sadly. I'd like to thank Tony for ever so much for showing us around. And we're on the platform now. Welcome to Irlam. Please visit the station. I feel like Trevor Howard and Celia Johnson in Brief Encounter. What a train to come in blowing steam, and then we can walk off into the distance, not holding hands.
No, obviously not.
Tony, thank you ever so much.
No problem at all.
Yes, right. So Hamilton Davis, thank you ever so much for letting us have a guided tour and showing us around. And I would urge anybody to visit Irlam Railway Station. You're in for a treat. You can get fed, water, drink, tour, signal boxes. There's so much to see and do. I urge you to come and see it. It's all free.
It is.
All free. What can I say? Thank you.